Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me once again, and thank you to all the new subscribers. You've joined the party at quite a moment, because as you can see, we've now arrived at an interesting fork in the road. Some of you may have noticed I have a new website. On the landing page, you will see this very sign. The armour direction is of course self-explanatory. The music side, however, currently just links to my YouTube channel, because whilst there is something spectacularly unhinged and wonderful about to happen here, it's still not quite ready for serving, because I clearly have an issue with finishing songs. Now, I don't want to spoil the video you're about to see, so all I will say is 2 weeks ago, during a moment of heightened musical madness with associated joy, I reached out and ran this issue past someone I really musically admire. A fearless, prolific songwriter, a platinum-selling multi-instrumentalist who you might not know, you already know. I asked for her advice on Instagram, and instead of just receiving a cursory like or the appropriate emoji, she suggested we talk about it. The video you're about to see is that very conversation, unedited and presented to you as is. This conversation took an unexpected turn in the middle, as I wasn't expecting to be asked such a thought-provoking question, the correct reply to which I'm still pondering over a week later. So, find yourself a deep chair, break out the best biscuits, and enjoy some unbridled honesty, which will hopefully open a discussion in the comments between other songwriters and creatives who are also desperately trying to finish what they've started, all while struggling to stand underneath the pressure that is the waterfall of new ideas. And if you have any words of wisdom in this regard, then please share your secrets in the comments. I will add links in the description so you can discover the songs mentioned during the chat. And so you can also shout, "No way, it's her! I know that song!" And at the end of the interview you can go, "Oh, isn't she lovely?" Yes, she is. One of planet Earth's true, authentic souls. So all that's left to say is, I hope you enjoy this relaxed and revealing conversation beside the fire. And once again, thank you, Bloom. Thanks for sharing and allowing us a little peek into your universe. You were awesome, and long may you reign. Recording in progress.
Yeah.
Hello, Bloom. How are you?
I am very good, thank you.
Look, seriously, I'm kind of freaking out right now, mainly because this is number one, is you're not aware that you're the person that's normally jumping up and down on my tablet when I do my morning workout in my workshop.
Incredible.
Because of that song, of course.
Yes.
So just in case anyone watching this might not know who you are, could you just drop a couple of lyrics from that song, please? I'm not asking you to sing. But
let me see how I can do that. Well,
that's
with the birds. I'm the cop with the birds and drone. Well, why don't you do
that's
it?
too much. That's too much. That's
That
made
is...
my day. No, thank you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you're from Holland, yes?
Yes.
Is that right? So if I went to Holland, would I hear music that was similar to your music?
No.
How? Okay, right. That's interesting.
That's no.
Because you've been doing this for a while in Holland. Before, you see, I didn't know of you until that song, that incredible song, which of course is a UK number one. So prior to that song, what was your recording history in Holland?
Well,
before you, because I don't even know when you came to England, of course.
Well, let me tell you that then. So basically, I started busking when I was 15. Someone gave me a guitar, and I couldn't even play the guitar yet. Can you hear me properly, by the way?
Yes, perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. So I felt so behind on my expression that when someone gave me an instrument, I wanted to play live with it. Immediately, I wanted to just perform because I felt I had some catching up to do. So I learned to play the guitar as I was busking. So I would draw
Wow.
the chords and like read it on the spot and improvise and write songs. I still love writing songs on the stage, by the way, and Bom Bom is one of those songs that was
Well, it was written on the stage.
yeah, it was an improvisation. And well, I'll tell you more about that. But so I was busking, and then suddenly when I was 16, like someone wrote to a TV show, and I was on the TV, and then playing music, and then
I
just the
saw a picture of you
festivals.
young. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I started young. Um, yeah, I played a lot live, just me and my guitar. Um, and then later with a band, and I recorded an album in London when I was 19. But by then I started to feel a bit disenchanted with the music industry because there were a lot of people that were a lot older than me that had a lot of opinions about what I should or shouldn't do, and I was quite um, a rebellious character even then.
Yeah.
So I didn't really enjoy all that, and at the same time I also felt like um, I didn't really feel comfortable with, sometimes I wasn't famous, but sometimes someone would recognize me, and I felt really, oh, that side, I didn't really know how to deal with that. So, um, yeah, that felt a bit clumsy. But at some point, I I felt I wanted to quit music for a while and go to art school. So that's what I did. Um, and I never started making really experimental stuff as well. So art school was also, I couldn't not make music because I'm
Sure.
synesthetic. So visual and music is all connected, and performance and characters, and the whole thing is one big thing.
So were you painting at art school? What was your medium at art school?
I was doing no, I wanted to paint, but instead I started to do photography,
Okay.
but printing everything myself, even though I knew how to do it on a computer. It's like, no, I have to do it
Yeah.
old school, and making strange books with printed photographs, and like writing, a lot of writing, photography, video. I started playing with video,
Okay, that's
um,
useful.
drawing. But that was strange. So I went on. I got a C for drawing because I had a teacher that didn't like my way of drawing. And then the next year I had a teacher that I felt like, oh wait, I really found my voice with that. So when I moved I went on an exchange project to London in 2003, and all the stuff that I was doing, like the video, which was all well old school analog stuff, the photography, that wasn't there. So instead, I was like, okay, what do I do then? Well, I went to lots of drum and bass parties, and I also started drawing a lot more
Yeah.
and writing a lot more, and God forbid, making music. Yeah, but
Okay.
making experimental instrumental music, mostly like sampling, field recordings, lots of weird shit.
Okay.
And
Well, yeah, that's one of the questions. Okay, right.
ah,
Carry
but
on.
anyway, I didn't go back. That was an exchange project, which was supposed to be 3 months, but I stayed 17 and a half years.
Oh my God.
So
Yeah.
there you go. Mm.
So is that where you met the other people in the band?
Yes,
Okay, I
at
see.
some point, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so that song, the Bom 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 song,
Mhm.
I know the story. I saw on the Nick Bettini interview you did.
Oh, yeah.
I think you mentioned, did you call it the the house shit contest? Is that what you called it on the
Oh, totally shit.
totally shit?
Totally shit project.
The
Yeah,
totally shit.
that was so much fun.
Yeah. So now,
Should I tell
so
you about the Totally Shit project though? Because I feel now it's out of context. Because Bom Bom wasn't the Totally Shit project.
no, it wasn't. It,
No.
absolutely not. So yeah, you have to, because in case anyone hasn't seen the Nick Bettini interview.
Yeah.
So please
Mhm.
explain.
So at some point, well, when I was 19, I had a writer's block, and that was terrible. I've never felt so miserable in my life. So I remedied it by going to work in a biscuit shop for a bit, or a shop that had biscuits and underpants. So I sometimes had to
Biscuits and
fold,
Underpants.
yeah, sometimes had to fold underpants and sometimes sell
There's a band
biscuits.
name.
Yeah, and it worked because after 3 months I had so enough of biscuits and underpants that they were like,
Biscuits and
would you like to
Underpants.
work here permanently? And I was like, no, thanks. Actually, I'm never coming back because I think I can write music again now, and which is true. So then
So how long had you had away from music?
I think it was a total of 6 months or something. I don't know.
Okay, all
But it
right.
was like I couldn't write. It was just felt really clunky and unspontaneous. But ever since I vowed that this should never happen again. So I found a trillion ways of not ever feeling blocked. So one of them is to have a mirror project, which is the experimental electronic music. Is like whenever I would feel stuck with one thing, I just switch to another medium. And in this case, it was like, so I have 20 years worth of experimental instrumental music because I was not attached to any outcome. So whenever I feel stuck
Yeah.
writing, I'd be like, okay, let's make some homo sampling in this music. And then that's fun. And I don't care what comes out of it, because usually when we get blocked, it's because we're too serious. So
I agree with that.
and then one really fun thing, which also helps completely liberating yourself from any sense of expectation and shoulds, is this Totally Shit project, which was like, let's try and make something that is bad. Let's make it bad, but so bad that you enjoy listening to it. Right? Not
Yeah.
bad
There
in
are
the
no
way that,
expectations at all.
yeah, except that it can't be boring bad, like monotonous. No, not, but anything adventurously bad was very welcome. So we started creating, me and my two friends, we started creating all these personas, and like we're making choir music and
Ah, that's interesting.
hip hop. Let's make hip hop. Like, and there's a lot of these online somewhere on YouTube with weird band names and weird music
But
videos.
is that the Lady Ooh as well? Is were
No,
you
that's a
Lady Ooh
different.
in? That's something else.
That's also, yeah, that's one of the many characters. But there's,
Okay.
okay, like this is the thing, nobody knows about these things, but there's a band called, that's an experimental jazz band called Funkulo, and and then there was another band called Scientologists in Space. That's,
Okay, now I'd like to hear that.
yeah, you can. That's a hip hop band. Then there was the Ladies and Gentlemen Choir. And
So
those were,
Scientologists in space, can I find that on YouTube?
yes, there's a video. Because
Oh
then we
man.
started making videos and
I'm
some other
so annoyed.
people.
I hadn't seen that before this.
Ah, well, I can probably. Well, you can. I don't know.
Wow,
I'd have to
Scientologists
search
in
for it
space.
because
Yeah,
like
okay.
if I lost the login and stuff of that account, as you do. But anyway, so that project was such fun and so liberating, because normally like
Yeah.
you don't do that,
You've
and
pressed the reset button.
yeah, and it's like,
Everything's
okay,
new.
we can do anything if you don't have to be good. If it doesn't have to be to a certain standard,
There's
then
a
I can
t-shirt.
do anything, right? Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I'll play the drums,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
it's actually, it's not that bad, and it's really fun, and you find, actually, I'd like to listen to this. And some things were actually
Yeah.
really bad, but still always funny, always like trying to do something new.
So
So there must have been dozens and dozens of songs then that you'd written at that point in time. So how did that one then become the standout song, which went on to be absolutely everywhere here in France, for example? I first heard it here in France in the
Mhm.
supermarket. That's
Ah,
how crazy this is. I'm doing my shopping, but then it's France is better, in my opinion. I hear more diverse music here in France than I would in England. They seem to rotate the same 10 songs.
mhm.
So how did all of those songs that you'd written, how did that one rise to the surface?
Well, so
When did it get
basically,
picked up?
um, I have to tell you how it came into existence first. So just
Okay.
after that project, that was funny. We did 3 volumes of totally shit. And then after that, I had my solo project and I had a band, but the band kind of separated, called Polichinelle, which was more because we couldn't agree on which
Okay.
genre. He was the guy I was doing that with was like, no, let's go more into traditional dubby stuff. And I was like, no, let's make
Pollution
it
hell.
really I was like, no, let's make it experimental.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was like that. But then someone called Sam Ritchie asked me to do some performance arts. Like I was really notoriously resistant from joining anybody's projects. And I was asked a lot, like, do you want to join my project? And it's like, well, I've got so many projects of my own. So I couldn't commit to that. But he just asked me to dance around on stage and wear some costumes. So it's like, yeah, I can commit to that. So I was wearing a banana costume as you do. And then I
Of
grabbed,
course. Is this
there
in
was,
clubs then? You're
this was
doing
the very first gig we ever did. Was like he wanted to experiment with another mate of us, Aaron Horn, who did some dancey, wompy sounds, like dubsteppy stuff. And Sam played the trumpet, obviously. And then, so they were doing, that was the very first gig. And I just grabbed a mic at some point because I think Sam was pretty clever and knew how to, yeah, knows I'm a
Yeah.
cat and he knew how to handle a cat. So just put the mic there, but don't say anything that I should or shouldn't. So at some point, the mic was grabbed. It had an octave pedal on it, but I thought, yeah, let's be a rapper because I was so fearless, right? So
It's in
it's
disco
like,
rapper.
I
Yeah.
can just be a rapper. I've never rapped before, but I can be a rapper. Let me be a rapper and a banana rapper at that. So I could, yeah, so I did that. And then, these gigs evolved and I started grabbing the mic more frequently and that not only wearing the banana costume. And so that song kept being played and I would always improvise on it. So I improvised on it for quite some time and Sam was trying to get me to record it in the studio and I was like, nah, it's just I'm happy just improvising it. And it kind of, when you improvise something, it starts to take shapes of bits of it return and other bits get dropped. And so it was always different, but then like, come on, let's go to the studio. So I was like, okay, that's just this one, but I'm not going to prepare anything beforehand. Whatever it is, it is. So we pressed record. I did a take, and there it was.
Is that the first take?
Yeah. Well,
No
I think
way.
we did, yeah, I think that was either 1 or 2 takes, but it's,
That is awesome. And so the monkey, the ooh, ooh, is that inspired by you wearing the banana outfit?
um,
The
who
monk,
who knows? Like, let's
because
say,
that's the bit that caused me to come home and think, right, I'm going to try and Google this. I don't know what I just heard in the supermarket. It's mad. It's great. It really is the best.
and I think that's why it did so well because it's complete creative freedom captured
Oh,
in that
absolutely.
take because there's no writing happening there. It's
Yeah.
just flow in action. And it's like, it couldn't have been done in any other way.
Yeah, it's magic captured in a bottle.
Mm,
Yeah. Oh, that is awesome. Well, thank you for explaining that.
my pleasure.
Right. That brings us to the point of you've almost, no, you haven't answered the question yet. So I sent you a question on Instagram because I couldn't believe that you have quite a small YouTube channel for your own music.
Yeah.
All of which is absolutely amazing. And I thought, is this the same person? And when I discovered your track, not long after, I was tidying up. This is my kitchen, and behind me is a mountain of papers that go almost to the ceiling. And most of them are lyrics and ideas for videos and stuff like that. And I found a map, and it was a handwritten map to a studio, which you'll soon see up the road. It's nothing to do with me. It's a friend. It's an amazing place in an incredible location. It's sort of a secret place. And I found this map, and I was about to throw the map away, but I thought I better check what's on the other side. And on the other side were lyrics to a song that I'd written, which was the reason I was going to the studio in the first place, was to pay James, my friend at the studio, to try and master this track, which was a right mess. It has the word Hollywood in the title. That's so when you hear it again finished, you'll know I'm referring to that. And then I couldn't believe it, because on this piece of paper, I'd written the date, which is something I've started to do to sort of remind myself that I mustn't sit on my hands. There's not a lot of time. You've got to get stuff finished. This date was 2021. And I thought to myself, wow, why isn't that song recorded? I know that the song, rather like your song, it's not like your song. It's also crazy in that it's unconventional, but without the video, there, like you said earlier, without the context, this is just going to look like a guy who's lost his mind. And I think the video is where I then started to experiment. And in the 3 years that I haven't finished this song or the video, I think I've written maybe 80 songs. Half of those are probably good, and none of them are finished. The first song isn't finished. So I believe I asked you on Instagram, the question was, how do you finish the songs you've started whilst you're standing underneath a waterfall of new ideas? That is exactly the situation I am in. That's why there isn't any of my finished music out there. So how the hell do you manage to be so prolific? And you seem to get finished songs out there, which are fantastic to listen to. They're beautifully recorded. The vocals are perfect and the videos are perfect. How do you manage to do this, please? Help me. How is this possible?
Well, do you know how many songs I have that no one's ever heard? And I do tend to finish songs straight away. However, yeah, they usually, but some take much longer. Some come in bits. There's always a clue or another. But the trick to it is to listen to what the song wants to be, rather than I'm going to do something. It's about not doing. It's total wu wei. And I find that the most pleasant way is like, I've been recently writing, I started another project. Oh my God, I started another project. But we did, because I dreamt a tune.
Okay, that's nice to know.
I dreamt this theme, and
That's
then
just
in the middle
magic.
of the night, I was like, okay, I have to, but it didn't fit any of my stuff. But if you hear it, you'll know.
Yeah.
It's not, doesn't fit with my solo stuff. So I called my mates and I was like, let's do something with this together. And then we started writing more. We recorded that. We started writing more stuff for it. And the beautiful thing was we did 3 days in the studio, and both of us were so uninhibited creatively that there was you know, when there's your ego self, and then there's the universe self. And
Yeah, sure.
when you get out of your own way, the reason why I got blocked when I was 19 was because I was so in my head about it and so shouldy, and so this is what it should be like. And whenever I'm stuck, it's because I am looking at it too much. I am too, like, yeah.
Yeah, I have that problem. I have that issue. The quest for perfection is a nightmare. I ruined a great vocal at the start of this year just because I can't really do a tremolo. There was a tremolo on it, which happened by accident. So I thought, but it wasn't perfect. I've been trying to reach this magic note. It's just insane that, like your song, the magic of the song was already recorded. But in trying to perfect it, I've killed the essence of the song in the first place. So it's like you say, I suppose you shouldn't get hung up on perfection.
Well, it is perfection.
Exactly.
And how
I
do you
suppose it's
know
when you,
something's finished?
for me, I'm my worst critic. That's the issue. And my day job making armor doesn't help. I'm paid to obsess about rivets. And I honestly wake up in a cold sweat sometimes thinking, oh my God, I used 130 rivets and I've just read a book and I now know there's only 126. This is insane. Nobody cares. Nobody notices. It's just me.
Yeah.
So anyway, with songs, I'm the same. I always think, oh, that should be better, maybe. And that's when the nightmare begins usually. I keep often reworking something, whereas in actual fact, saying goodbye to it, sending it on its way, it probably would have been fine. Maybe no one would have noticed.
So can I ask you some questions now?
Yeah, sure.
Explore this. So how do you know a song is finished?
Well, that's a good question. I didn't know that. I would say I wouldn't be able to answer that question were it not for my last relationship, where I would try and get an emotional reaction from her. And if I could stop her in her tracks, then I'd think, okay, that was musically finished in that I didn't need to write any more verses. I think if I'd managed to convey the message, then it was finished. But I think knowing when something is finished in the sense that all the instruments are finished is probably where I end up going down a rabbit hole, because I'd probably be guilty of adding too many things. And I've now started stripping them all away, just so I'm left with the essence. Like one of your songs, Atlas Cassandra, is probably the perfect example of how a song should be, in my opinion. And it's really quite bare. But then, if I can say, can I say that when the bass drops, it becomes something so so dark, but at the same time sort of triumphant. And that would be, if I could record a song that was like that, I'd be very happy. In that, I think maybe I'm insecure as to how it sounds, so I try and hide myself behind layers and layers of other things, other instruments. Whereas your stuff, I've noticed your vocal is right at the front of the mix. It almost like it seems to be just one vocal. I don't know whether you're recording unison vocals or all of this, but there's a confidence with yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a confidence where you're just saying, right, this is it. Like that clip of yours where you're on TV when you're very young.
Oh gosh, yeah.
With the guitar. I mean, no joke. I mean this as a compliment. That is one of the wildest things I've seen. If you'd have, I couldn't play the guitar then anyway. I'm a terrible guitarist. But if you gave me a guitar and told me to stand on stage on TV at that age, I'd have just choked and probably cried. So, so I really, there's an animalistic confidence that you have when you're performing, which is awesome. I'm not trying to divert the fact from the question. I'm rambling now. Have I answered your question? Probably not. When is a song finished? Probably I don't know.
Have you ever finished a song?
I would say yes in the 90s. That's the honest answer. I took I haven't had any commercial success, but back in the 90s, the closest I got was I was writing sketches for Sting, and I nearly became the third Pet Shop Boy, which is a great story. But it doesn't have a happy ending in that I'm not the third Pet Shop Boy. And that was, I think I was more confident then, mainly because I didn't have the equipment that I've got now. So I was writing a song in the evening, and I had, it was so long ago, I was using a Commodore 64 with Steinberg Pro 16, didn't have a multi-track, but I had Spaghetti Records who were asking me for more and more songs. So I would write a song and I would program it, and then I would play everything live and record a live vocal, which was just terrible, really. So it wasn't even a recorded vocal. All of that got mixed down through an eight channel desk onto a DAT, and I would mix the DAT down to either a CD or a cassette. I mean, imagine that. And it would get sent off to Spaghetti Records, and that was it. And so they were finished, in that I know that they weren't ever broadcast quality, or they would never have been used as records, but I was trying to showcase the song more than me as a performer. So they were finished, but probably because they were finished in the structural sense. I knew where the strings were to convey the message. It's a song called Something I Used to Do. That was the closest I got. And then the Pet Shop Boys chose Go West instead of my song. And then after that, it's a long, boring story. I got really ill, and then I had to stop work, and then I had to earn money. I started a business, and I almost didn't touch music for 10 years. But I still messing around, still kept a keyboard here for my sanity. But I certainly wasn't recording then, if I'm honest. So they were finished songs, but now it's the dilemma in that I could probably make a song sound better than I could ever dream right now, even though I don't have an incredible studio. It ends up getting recorded all over the house, and bits on the kitchen table, and but I would have dreamt of having those sounds in the 90s, because now we're in the world of plugins, of course. So yeah, I really don't know whether it's an exercise in paring it all back and making something bare, so that the song is what sells itself rather than its production. I really don't know.
When you say finished, do you mean produced, or the writing of the song and its structure?
Definitely mean produced.
Okay.
I'm quite good. In my mind, it's what I call completing the circle. If the end can meet the beginning, then I know it's lyrically finished. I'm happy with that. They're never very ambiguous either. They're always quite literal. That's never the problem. The problem is always where I think, oh no, I just need to just record it all differently, and maybe do what I often call I'm certainly not comparing myself to Radiohead, but there's a Radiohead sort of sound now, where again the vocal is rather like your vocal in that it's raw and it's unashamedly at the front and not buried behind 1,000 plugins. And that I think I need to do that, because I'm definitely not getting anywhere doing it the way I am doing it. Though the crazy song Hollywood is a big production, but that's more about shock than anything else. It's actually the reason I grew this beard. The beard is for this video, and I can't believe this happened 3 years ago. It's all about someone doing something unexpected, and it involves costume. It's a crazy, crazy, crazy song. Not like anything else I've ever written before. And there's only one rule, and that it must not look cringy. So I know if I recorded me singing that song, walking along the beach, it would be embarrassing. So unfortunately for that, I do need a sort of Jason and the Argonauts production for the message to be conveyed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I really don't know. But that does need a big production. But all my other stuff, I think I could strip it right back to piano and vocal and maybe just try it like that. Has that answered the question?
Yes. Yes.
Sorry, you started me rambling then.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So,
So how do you know when something's finished?
because it tells me.
Wow, you see. Okay. But in the production sense as well as the lyrical sense.
Yes. And
Okay.
what if there didn't need to be just one version of a song? There could be many, because I have,
Well,
for some songs I've got many versions. Some songs I've had.
Rock, Planet, and Animal.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually my favorite. How many versions of that are there?
Well, there's the recorded version. Then there's a video of me playing it in the garden on the guitar. I can play it on the piano. I can play it on the ukulele. There's infinite versions of it. There's one recorded version of that one that's been released. But then obviously there's the version in which I'm writing it, which is, on a guitar. That one was quickly, it came out with scrambled lyrics, but then just sat down in the kitchen and the whole thing, it's like, oh yeah, this is.
Yeah.
How I work is I listen, and I'm becoming quicker and quicker at that. So I am not rationally involved with the stuff. I just listen, and the more I get my ego out of the way and just listen, the more direct it is. Like, oh, these sessions I did with my friend, we wrote, recorded, and produced 3 tracks in 3 days, a track each day, and they were
As
all
in
finished.
totally produced, finished.
Yes. Then we
Wow.
did one more session to tweak
I
a few
salute you.
things, but it's like, okay, because there was no bullshit, zero bullshit, just
Yeah.
and everything. When we listened back the other day, we realized when we started playing around by taking turns, like, okay, I'll do a layer, you do a layer. For one of us did the beats and the other the bass, and the other track the other way around, but just playing. And there was no, oh, it should be like this. There was like, it could be anything. What do you hear? What comes out? And listening back, all of them had something else in the beginning that we then muted. It began with something which was then muted, and then something else emerged, and it just took us on an adventure. And then it was like, oh, I hear some vocals now, let's grab the mic. And everything was like tush, tush, tush. No time for thinking, bullshitty, is this good enough, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I like that.
And it was really, I really like this music that came out.
So is this the advantage of working with someone else?
No, this was the first time I was able to do that with someone else, because usually I was always like, oh no, to be that free, I have to be alone. I've never felt, unless it was really, like, I have the excuse of making something shit. But this was the first time in which I felt so free to do that with that that creative birth process.
Because that is one of the questions: is do you normally write alone?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. I actually thought that would be the answer.
Mm.
So, if just to move on then from number 4,
Yeah.
if you were my psychiatrist, and the clock is about to run out now, we've got 1 minute left, and I'm paying a fortune for this session.
Yeah.
What, in 12 words or less, what advice could you give me and anyone else who is sitting on 100 unfinished songs or projects? What advice do you think you could give just to overcome that anxiety? I have an ex-girlfriend, for example, who she's French. She knew, and this is not about music, she used to call me Mr. Properly because everything had to be perfect in my job. Everything I like to do perfectly. I always like to stand back and think that's really the best I could do, and that is definitely a problem. So how do I kill Mr. Properly? How do so you can just record a demo, add some cello, and think, you know what, that's the lyrics are finished, that's good enough. That's the song. It's out there, it's finished. Move on.
I have a question for you. What would be possible for you if you already knew that you already are everything you ever dreamt of?
Wow, that's a good question. So are you saying I should be more grateful with what I have?
No, that is not what I'm saying. And I'll say the question again. What would you want if you already knew that you already are everything you always dreamt of?
Right, thinking about that another way, it's for me, I suppose it is just a handful of people identifying with the message that a song is trying to convey. That is it. Because I think, I don't want, again, I don't want to spoil the question, but I don't, I think my skill is songwriting. I don't think I'm a great musician. This is one of the questions which we can address. I don't want to answer your question with a question, but it's a question I've got for you. It's what do you call yourself? But so if we were walking past, for example, if we were in a pub and there was a piano and you said, "Oh, Nigel, sing your last song," I genuinely wouldn't be able to do it without an hour's practice because that was 3 songs ago in my mind. So I don't class myself as a great musician in that regard. I always imagine a musician is someone who you could throw a guitar to and say, "Can you play Living on a Prayer?" And you'll go, "Oh yeah, that's I don't know what key that's in," and you're off. I know musicians like that. They're amazing. I don't know many that can write like that, by the way, which is interesting, but maybe they can. So I think musically, I'm happy with the skills I have. If this is trying to answer your question, happy with the skills I have in composition. But yeah, it's just that I would love to have stuff out there that it's not about being a millionaire living on the side of a mountain in Switzerland. That would be good. It would just be about being recognized as being a songwriter. That would be all. And have I answered your question again? No.
What would that
Have I not
give you?
answered your question?
Well, I think maybe the question that I asked wasn't the right one, because I'm trying to point to something. So what you just said, yeah, about the handful of people,
That would be it. Yeah.
what would that give you that you do not have now?
I suppose validation that I haven't gone mad since the late 80s, since I've been writing songs, most of which were bad, by the way. I've done some terrible stuff. Again, commercially, complete failure.
Mhm.
That's why I thought this was an interesting question to ask you, because you have had great commercial success. And so this is a wonderful opportunity to me that I didn't want to waste. Yeah, by asking you. I'm sort of going through the questions backwards now.
Excellent.
So yeah, I don't want to ask you another question without being sure that I've answered your question.
I want to ask you another question. Can I?
Yeah, I've got a feeling this is a psychological trap, and I'm happy with that. If I'm walking into a trap, it's fine.
No, we're just exploring.
I'm not wearing a mask. This is me.
And this is me. Now don't worry, I'm just a curious person. And wait, I have to cough. So
Bless you.
I wanted to ask, is there anything in life that you do and you're not perfectionistic about?
I don't think there is, really, apart from maybe vacuuming the kitchen.
What about this conversation?
Definitely gardening. I live in it. My garden is a jungle. I haven't cut the grass for 7 months, so I don't. Yeah, I don't think there is.
What
But
about
obviously,
this? What about this conversation?
this conversation.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think this is going better than I thought it was going to go. But what's funny is I knew I've not done this before.
Mhm.
I haven't interviewed. So you have a degree of celebrity, right? That's accepted. And again, it's weird for me, as I said, because you shouldn't exist. You're the person that just dances on my tablet where I do my pathetic workshop workout. So this is great. But I knew that this is all well and good having 10 questions, but I knew that you're going to ask me one, and that is going to throw all this completely on the fire. So, yeah. So, yeah, my house is for example, a renovation project, and so pretty much here, nothing is finished, but a lot of things that aren't finished are maybe for the same reason that the music isn't finished. That's quite an interesting thing for me to suddenly realize. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't have a psychiatrist, by the way. Maybe I should have. This is my first psychological evaluation. It's good.
I'm not a psychologist, by the way.
No,
I am a transformational coach, though.
Okay, well, thank you. That's as good as.
Yeah. So, how will you know that this conversation is finished? How will you know when this conversation will be finished?
Maybe it's ever we get to 12, maybe not, or maybe you say, look, no, because obviously I can't keep you all day, but I think I don't feel I've had the answer yet. Other than now, I'm starting to think. I'm taking a deep breath as to what you've just said, and I'm looking around. Like there's scaffold at the other side of this kitchen, and I'm thinking, wow, yeah, maybe this is a bigger problem, and it's not so much about the music, which is terrible. Because the reason I like the music is that, like you said earlier, I was overjoyed to hear that you dreamt a song.
Mhm.
This happens regularly. I wake up and I scream something into my iPhone,
Yeah.
and then often I play it back with my Weetabix, and I think, God, that's the worst melody ever. But I still don't delete it. And sometimes I think it's a new song, but really it's the chorus to the song that I wrote 3 weeks ago.
Exactly.
Sure, you have that.
Yes.
I remember listening to an interview with Chris Rea once, who said that he writes a song a day. Most of them are rubbish, but that's the reason he does it. One of them will be the verse to the chorus that he wrote last year. So yeah. So yeah, the reason I like the music is that it's almost something that is in a nice little box. It's in the laptop, but it's emotional, so it's never something that I can switch off. I'd hate to switch it off, which is why I said to you on Instagram, I made promises with the universe, and that promise is that if I'm cutting the grass, well, it's a bad example because, as I said, I haven't cut the grass this year. But if I'm in the workshop working on something for a client, which obviously is what pays my bills, and I have an idea for a song, the deal I made with the universe is not to say, "Oh, I'll record that later." The deal I've made with the universe is that I have to come in from that workshop, and regardless of what I'm wearing or what I'm doing, I have to record that idea, even if it's only into my phone. I have to. There's almost like a paranoid that if you don't do that, the tap will be turned off and you won't be sent any more new ideas. That's the childlike way that I've always thought with music.
Mm.
Do you think I'm crazy now?
No, not at all. But I want to reflect something back at you. So when you make an armor for a client, there's a beginning and an end.
Yes.
Right? And you'll know when it's finished, right? And you'll send it off. With a song, it's not tangible. You can't hold it in your hand. And there's infinite possibilities. Also, the word finished doesn't really exist. It's a man-made invention. You can't put it in a wheelbarrow. What is finished? What does it even mean?
You can't put it in a wheelbarrow.
No, you can't put finished in a
That's
wheelbarrow.
true.
So what if you never had to? You could either choose to continue working on the same song for forever, or you could have infinite amounts of versions. Or when is it finished for you? When you hand it over to someone else, or when you play it to someone else, or what defines that?
I think it's when I could play it to someone. And again, the only recent example I have is with my ex-girlfriend, where I could sit back and play a song and not say, "Oh, imagine this with in place of the piano, imagine a bit of cello," because she was a musician as well, so with a bit of cello. And that's okay if you're communicating with other musicians. But if I was giving that song to a stranger, I obviously don't have the luxury of saying, "Oh, imagine that with cello." I have to, if I hear a cello in my finished, in my inner voice, so I hear a cello with that song, I have to add the cello. I suppose it's about trying to hear something that is the same, that sounds the same as the song that you were sent. Because I'm sure you're the same. If you hear a song, an idea, I imagine you pretty much hear the finished song.
No, that's the thing. That's the thing. I do, And then when I start playing around with it, and I'm the instrument, and it always becomes very different from how I initially conceived it. Now I'm an imperfectionist.
An
I'm an
imperfectionist.
imperfectionist because I find that the beauty lies in the little mistakes that lead you to create something that is a surprise, right? To
Yeah.
let go of the expectation, because something enters. Like when I heard that song in my dream, it sounded very specific, but it had a little theme. The theme was like, that's quite epic, but it evolved as I, when I started playing around with it, I listened back and I realized, oh, it had already changed. Something had changed from and then when we started producing it, again, it became something different. And that is, in my opinion, that is okay and welcome, and it doesn't have to sound
I agree with that, by the
I
way.
heard it. It's like, oh, this is different. Or when I do something, at the end, I don't know if you know my song Ebb and Flow.
Ebb
At
and
the
Flow.
end,
I haven't
I'm
heard Ebb and
playing.
Flow.
I was playing some chords. It's on my new album. You should listen to it. It's like, because this is what it's called.
That's at the end.
It's called The Circular Being, and it's called that for a reason, because
That's number 11, you see. We get to the circular being.
exactly. Well, there's a song called Ebb and Flow. And in the end, in the coda, I was improvising that. I like recording when I improvise, and then I work with that, right? So sometimes it's, sometimes I'm so in the flow that a whole song comes through, and sometimes it's, it requires work. Sometimes there's quite a lot of work before I know that it's finished. But for Ebb and Flow, I was playing that and I grabbed the wrong chord. I was playing some chords and then I accidentally grabbed another chord.
That's a gift. That's a
And I was
gift
like,
from the universe.
yeah. I'm like, whoa, that's good.
Yeah.
I
The
like
song
it.
is telling you what to do now. It has a life of its own. I love that.
And
A
that's
happy
with
mistake.
that's how I do everything.
Right.
And it's not just how I do music, that's how I do life.
That's awesome. You see, I'm like that with people. Like you said earlier, imperfections. Like for me, the most beautiful people, it's always someone with an imperfection. I don't agree that the most beautiful faces are those that are symmetrical. I know psychologists say that, but I completely disagree with that. It's always someone with a little wrinkle somewhere or something. You think, oh yeah, that's interesting. And so yeah, if you can hear, it's like sometimes if you do a voice recording, James and I spoke about it at the studio. We did a voice recording for a story for it was someone. I was the voice, a character voice in this story, and I couldn't get into the part. I was meant to be tied to the mast of a boat, and I couldn't. I know I had to be out of breath. So when we got this just about right in the studio, James then removed the breaths. And I remember saying to James that I preferred it with the breaths because the breaths they were the imperfections and they were the passion, if you like. I completely understand why James removed the breaths, by the way, because it didn't make for nice listening to if you're listening in the car.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got to leave something there, I suppose, that reminds you that you're listening to a human and this isn't all AI. This is a real, yeah, it's passionate.
That's the thing. I think perfection lies in the complete surrendering to what wants to be created through you, and
Yeah.
to try and control that makes it wriggle, and then it will feel that it's never
And is that why you
never
were
quite
delivered
right.
the new chord? Because that was the song saying, no, this is the way it's going to go.
Well,
You
it's
think,
just this is creation. Well, that's the writing, and then the production is a different matter. But in the writing, I don't know, I like it. But in both cases, I like to listen. I like to receive it. I like to be the instrument.
yeah,
And I like to be surprised. And I like to think that I don't need to do anything. I don't need to write a song. I don't write a song. I tried that many times, and that always feels contrived.
definitely.
Instead,
Yeah.
I am the instrument. I had a project called Ooh is an Instrument. For this reason was that I am the instrument. I'm not. Yeah, that's
So how do we kill perfection? How do I kill perfection?
surrender, relax, expand, allow, surrender.
Yeah, honestly, that is where it is. Yeah.
Enjoy the ride rather than trying to control it. Because that's not fun. That's not where the joy is.
No, no. Okay. I'm definitely going to try that. I'll keep you abreast of progress.
And to begin, try to make something totally shit
Well, that's easy for me.
as an exercise. Just something. Oh, just like, okay, I'm gonna make something really shit.
Yeah.
But that you just having fun with everything that is not allowed.
Okay.
Really, really imperfect. Can you make a really imperfect song that is not finished and play it to someone, to me, for example, anyway? Can you make a song that is not perfect and not finished and play it to a person
Yeah, I could try and do that.
without commenting what anything should sound like? Because this is the
Okay.
game. This is a game.
So is this a challenge?
This is a challenge
This is,
and a
this is a
game.
challenge.
You're not allowed to say,
Okay.
oh, this should sound like that, but that's not allowed. Just play it as it is. See what happens in you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely getting a flavor as to where the problem is.
Hmm.
It's been the problem has been in here, and it should never be in there. It should only be about this. That's the song creation. That's the production for me. That's how it seems to be. And it goes wrong somewhere in the transition from the heart to the head, where I try and pretend to be a producer and I'm not. So maybe I should just continue with keeping it raw, and I'll I'll see what you think.
Hmm.
But this Hollywood project, let's call it that, is a bit of a curved ball because none of my music is normally like that. This is meant to be a viral sort of track because you will be thinking, why is this guy with a beard so angry? And I'm not actually angry at all, but it's part of the piece.
Excellent.
Anyway, thank you. Well, let's not labor on number 4. I'm going to try and abandon perfection.
Okay.
Right. Thank you,
Good,
Bloom.
good.
So you'll be glad to know then we can now move on. So, number 5. What do you call yourself? Do you call yourself a musician or a singer-songwriter, a composer, entertainer? Because I know you're all of those things. But if you meet someone and you have to just answer in one line, what do you do? What do you call yourself?
Well, I will either say I'm a kaleidoscopic polymath, or I don't know. I am an instrument of imaginative revelations and a creator of universes for people to lose and find themselves in.
Okay, so you're not even going to mention music at all then?
Well, it's just so happens to be a medium that it doesn't. It's not that that's the only way.
No,
I don't know. It's
that's interesting.
I find it always good to remember that everything is made up, you know. So all these words
Sure.
are
Right.
also made up.
Well,
You know?
let me be more specific then. Let's just say you've
Yeah.
just gone to your local music shop to buy some new strings for your mandolin.
I don't
And
know
you went,
mandolin, but
okay, sorry.
ukulele.
Yeah.
Ukulele. No,
Ukulele.
got
Ukulele.
many. Sorry, I was
Yeah.
like,
And
I
you
don't
get
know.
involved in a conversation in the music shop, and
Mm.
they're asking you what you are. What would you call yourself in that shop? I suppose by definition, you're a musician, as you're in the music shop buying strings for your instrument. But
Yeah.
what would you call yourself still? Are you more a musician or more of a songwriter?
I'm more a songwriter than a musician
Okay,
because
good. That's interesting.
I don't. I'm more likely to create something than to
Love it. That's
reproduce
honestly
it.
what I was expecting you to say. That's interesting. Right. So, in brief,
Mhm.
you have a UK number one, which for me, I was joking earlier, thinking I was just thinking because obviously at some point I've got to do an introduction to this video, and I was just thinking about. I honestly think a UK number one is worth 2 Oscars, 3 Golden Globes, and 8 British BAFTAs. If you were to ask me which one of those things would you want, definitely UK number one. I think that's incredible. So, is a UK number one a help or a hindrance?
I wonder about that sometimes because whenever I send my music to BBC Introducer, for example, I think that it might stop them from playing it because they're like, "Oh yeah, but you've had a number one, so we're not." But well, not with this stuff, you know. It's a different project. I don't know, honestly. There was a time in which I found it difficult to own it. Yeah,
Okay.
and I was like, feeling, yeah, like I couldn't say that, for example. Like, oh yeah, I've had a number one. That felt um, uncomfortable,
That's interesting.
but yeah, come back from that. I can own it. I've got a multiple platinum disc just here right next to me, and I'm now quite happy and proud of that. So it's all good. Yeah.
Oh no, that's amazing. And so is it true that if you have a UK number one every year, someone from the British government turns up and hands you a check for £1 million so you never have to work again?
Oh gosh, wouldn't that be wonderful?
No, it's great. So number 7, where
I don't have much time because
okay, sorry, where is the fish on wheels?
oh, it's just here on the.
Okay,
You want to
great.
see it?
Hey,
It is my bookshelf. Can you see the fish on wheels? There it is
yes, at the
on the
top.
bookshelf.
Thank you. That's perfect. Now, you do your own videos, is that right?
Yes.
So, how do you feel about AI? Have you ever thought about cheating with AI
Well, if the AI did my
just to save
dishes,
time?
my AI could do my dishes, my taxes,
Ah,
could
yes.
mop the floor for me and that kind of stuff. But I'm not gonna let AI take the fun part away from
Thank you.
me.
That's perfect. Right. Now, this is what I've been. This was the first question I wrote down, actually, but it is question number 9. When you feel a song brewing, so you mentioned your washing machine earlier. Let's say, for example, you're just taking the washing out of your washing machine and you hear a song. What is the first instrument that you grab?
Oh, it's just
What do you run for? Do you, the first thing you record musically other than your voice?
that depends. So usually if I have a melody in my head, I'll just record it for later. But it's
And
like
then-
a little theme. But often for the instruments, I kind of keep the lid on a bit. For example, when I was recording my album, I could feel that, I can so easily write a new album, but that's way too
But do you run
hard.
for the guitar or your ukulele or the harp? You said you play the harp.
Yeah, there's a harp. Another Fender Rhodes is my favorite go-to instrument.
Fender Rhodes, yeah.
Depends. It's like, okay, now I'm gonna let it all loose, and then I record little snippets of ideas, and then when I feel like, okay, now I've got some time to really abandon myself to it, surrender to it, then I sit preferably at the Fender Rhodes.
The Fender
or
Rhodes.
the guitar as well. I wrote many songs on guitar. Fender Rhodes.
Your animal song with the Fender Rhodes is awesome.
Rock Plant.
Was it the harmonium? Were you playing the
that's
harmonium with that?
Yeah, that's the harmonium. Yeah,
The harmonium.
Animal Spirits. Yeah, it's a harmonium song.
Right. You've already said that you prefer to write alone and you don't like, or you'd prefer not to session write, but obviously you do session write because you collaborate with others.
Yeah, and it changed. I used to find it terrifying and terrible, feel like, because I think that's the thing. Like I could for the life of me not feel like I could surrender to it without any judgment of myself with another person. And that has completely shifted. So I feel completely uninhibited in that respect now, but it's new. It's a thing of recent times. So before that, I was hiding under the kitchen table very much. And I have been, even with people that I knew, I felt really shy because God forbid if I sing a wrong note. Like, it's not that I don't know what you are experiencing. I've been there. And I'm also glad to say there is another side to that. And and that's why I asked you the question, knowing that you already are enough, you already are good enough, you already are everything.
Oh yeah, that's great. I'm not insecure.
No,
that's the thing. You're
that's not what I'm pointing at.
No, I know.
It's the self-judgment of like, shit, I have to be, having an expectation of knowing that you can be that.
That is a nightmare. That is my nightmare, I think, for sure. Everything I present, I think it's very British as well, isn't it? To think, God, what is that person going to think of me?
It's very human to think that.
It is very human. We all want to be loved, I suppose.
But that's the thing is the one thing that stops us, it's not what someone else thinks. It's our own thoughts. It's what we think that stops us, because we're the only one with that power. Nobody else has that power to make us feel anything, have any power over us with their thoughts. It's us.
Sure.
Like what stops you is always your thoughts. What stopped me was the way I was thinking, like, oh, I have to be like this. And I couldn't get past that until I saw like.
And look, the sun has just come out. Now that you've said that.
See, the universe agrees.
Right. Now, number 11, of course, the last question, the big one. The Circular Being. How's it going? And how are you publicizing this album? How are the sales going?
you mentioned that. Yeah, I don't have many YouTube subscribers and stuff. This is the thing. I like creating, but then that side of it, then it's out there, and then I know that I could give it more, and I don't enjoy that. No,
Right.
it's there, and this is something I'm still learning. But I'm like, oh, now I have time to create other things. I still have to make some videos for it, for example, but also
So do you do all of, how much help do you have on your videos? Do you do, because you did a stop motions video I saw on Instagram the other day,
oh yeah,
which
yeah,
was fantastic. Did you do all of that yourself?
yeah.
Oh, so that's perfect again.
Yeah, but it's a lot of work. So I made one video for a song called Ride with the Fishes. I thought, oh, to make it super easy,
Yes.
I'm gonna learn a new technique which I haven't done yet before. Well, I have done, but not as such. So, well, this one, it was all photographs, and then I cut each frame by hand and made a world around it rather than green screening it, which I've also done. I've done with my graduation film. I literally, with my mouse, I cut out each frame by hand and manipulated
Wow.
it. That was like, I worked on it for 9 months for about 70, 80 hours a week. My hand was like, it was a lot of work. And yeah, I don't know. I like to get lost in that process. I think that I like the process more than the outcome.
So what
in
software do you
general.
use for editing your videos?
I
For
really,
example, your rock plant animal,
yeah,
there's all sorts of animations in that and overlays. Of course, the cat features.
yeah. Oh yeah,
So
that cat is not really there. That cat is green
yeah.
screen.
So
The
how did you pull that video off?
um, well,
Because
my
it's
friend.
such a charming video. The magic word is charming. That's the
Oh,
word for me.
thank you. We just went to the woods. One friend filmed, the other friend made the headdress, and we put some stuff out there. And then I took the footage, edited it, and then I animated stuff on top of it with
Okay.
After Effects.
After
I have to
Effects.
keep an eye on. Oh,
Right. Okay. Well,
I have
I'm
to
obviously
keep
going to
mindful of
link.
time.
I'm going to link to your video to your channel
Excellent.
in the description. I just wish I had a bigger channel so I could tell millions of people about your music projects.
Well, thank you.
So anyway, well, thank you. So I suppose what we've learned, in addition to discovering your creative process or processes, is that we should abandon perfection. That's definitely the thing that I need to take away from this.
Because everything is already perfect.
Love it. Okay, Bloom. Well, thank you so much for your time. Really, this is amazing.
Oh, enjoyed. Shall I?
Yeah.
I'm going to press stop now.
Okay.
Right.
Hello, my name's RidleyScott. I'm the director of the Imperfection Direction. I'm just going to type nigelcarren's name into Google to see if the new website pops up, which it should do, of course. There we are. Historic European armour. I should say armour, but never mind. And there's, okay, there should be an avatar there, but never mind as well. Right, here's the signing question. This is what this has all been about. The music side, of course, is what we've been talking about in this video. And the armour side, let's just see if this works. There we are, links to the shiny new site. And if we go down, we should see all the various features, lots of pictures that rotate, armour miniatures, reproductions, restoration, film and fashion. And okay, indeed, there's a shop page. There's contacts, and there's lots of testimonials there, of course. There's the Imperial War Museum. They were nice people. And there's a picture of Nigel with hair.
That was some time ago. I mean, actually, that was 2006. Good heavens. And keep going down, and contact page. There you have it. Now, incidentally, this should have been filmed on the IMAX 70mm camera, but it was basically too heavy to mount on the front of the BMX. So in the end, we filmed it with my sister's old iPhone 8, which worked perfectly. And the title, The Imperfection Direction, is inspired by Bloom, of course, who calls herself an imperfectionist, which I think is absolutely brilliant. So I hope you enjoy the film.
Silver, whose job it is to eat all my pencils. Right, Mr. Jones here doesn't know that the back field has been harvested.
This ordinary-looking post was once a floor joist. It spent nearly 300 years beneath the bed of a baker and his wife, propping up a 17th century French floor, 9 generations of family, and all their dreams. Now rotten at one end, chopped out and destined for an ignominious demise as mere firewood. But perhaps there is no more noble a final act for a floor joist than to heat the very same home in which it served. But thanks to my need of a signpost, it was resurrected from the wood pile and now performs the powerful role of lighthouse. A deliberately staggered cruciform design so as not to make an accidental nod to anything religious. In August, with the new website imminent, and my now refusing offers of digital road signs from the website company, I decided to make a real sign. At this point, I didn't know I'd be speaking to Bloom later in the year. Therefore, nor did I imagine I'd be standing here, lashed to the mast of the good ship Introspective. But it wasn't until I was enjoying painting the letters on that warm day that I realised the symbolism in spending a whole afternoon staring at a crossroads. And it wasn't until recording the intro that I realised I wasn't actually staring at a crossroads. I was standing at a fork in the road. The difference being, if you're standing at a crossroads, you can still go straight ahead, continuing in the same direction, no decisions made, all as if nothing has changed. But if you're standing at a fork, you've got to make a decision, son. Do you go left or do you go right? There are, of course, 2 other options. Either stop moving completely or return from whence you came. And you don't want to do that, for both are a death. To stand still is a crime. A crime which, if you're lucky, will be rewarded with the same trophy given to he who waits. Old age. Condemned to spend your final years wishing you hadn't sat on your hands when you were still able to stand. So don't be too patient, my friends, because action is the real virtue.
Yes. What's going on, Mr. Jones?
Excuse me. What are you doing?
The luckiest mouse in the world. This was your last day. Now you get to experience the outside world. Look at that. Secret stash is here. Right. Fantastic pliers. The find of the decade. Ooh la la. Printing hammer. That's what that's going to be. And, of course, a lovely little crow's beak. For getting into the greaves. Get into the greaves. Oh yes, this has been a good find. Always buy every antique hammer you can find. For reasons I shall explain. This one is €1. That is going to be something very, very useful. It has two really good uses that are immediate, and I shall explain. How satisfying is that? The BMX selfie system. It works perfectly.